I'll try to introduce you to this concept of antiquity-inspired innovation. And if we think about, let's say, archaeometry and everything that concerns chemistry, physics, interacting with objects of art, we generally think about two concepts. One is helping archaeologists to understand those four questions, how, when, where, and then how help conservators to actually preserve those objects, maybe understand the date. Well, we are trying to see objects in museum from a very different perspective, and today I'll give you a taste of what we were up to. But before we go into details, I wanted to give you a little introduction of my world, and this is you see world, and it starts in Bosnia and Croatia, and it starts with a war, unfortunately, and here are some journal articles from 1992, 1993, and you probably remember challenges that these people in ex-Yugoslavia went through, and I was part of these challenges, and this is my little village in Bosnia. Some parts of this village are still in these conditions, unfortunately. And so in these times of war, from Ukraine to the Middle East, as a person that has experienced firsthand the horrors and the madness of war, I would like to take this opportunity to stress the importance of a lasting peace, to ensure that no person, no child, has to suffer or live in a fear of violence because the war will end eventually, but the wounds and scars of suffering are difficult to heal. So, with this, I would like also to remind another important aspect of war. And this is something that I lived in person and remember the suffering when I saw this bridge being bombed and destroyed entirely. And I think this is the right place to stress the importance of heritage digitalization, because more we digitalize our heritage, better we will be in better position to actually restore it and safeguard at least the immateriality of it. Okay, so next step in my life was here in Turin, and that's why I return with a great pleasure to Torino, because through my challenges of war, I also found talent and eventually managed to start university studies in chemistry at the University of Turin, and with my colleague Marco Nicola. We even started a company startup. My first startup was with him that dealt with the conservation of ancient of heritage, and this is where actually my love for this country, but also for heritage in general, comes from. I wanted to make money, by the way, as well. And then, with many different, for many different reasons, I traveled through world, going to Berlin, Germany, and working at the Max Planck Institute, and then ending up at MIT. But while I was there in Germany, I got into biological materials, and I started to be fascinated by how biology makes materials and how these materials are multifunctional, how they actually are so different from what we are doing in our modern life in terms of how we produce materials, in which kind of conditions. So synthesis for us is burn a lot of fuel and create materials that work, yes, perform. Biology makes materials under mild conditions, room temperature, which is really very much different from what we are doing. Biological materials can self-heal. There are these cells that constantly make, for example, bones. Our bones are constantly regenerated. Probably because I'm big, it takes kind of 6 years, 7 years to completely renew the skeleton, you know? So imagine you are brand new every 6 years, which is kind of cool. Not doesn't hold for our infrastructure, for example. And self-assembly is something natural. Everything about these biological materials is fascinating. And this is where comes this bio-inspired design. You, you look into biology and then try to emulate some of the features and translate into modern life. Here are some beautiful structures of these fascinating features. And on the top right, you see shark skin on top. So there is a person that goes into a museum. This is a Naturkunde museum in Berlin, and looks into these, kind of objects, scan them using CT scans, and tries to extract the features and aspects. And museum, in this case, becomes the source of material to really learn from. Yeah, this is the biodiversity wall, but there are many museums of natural history. And here is James Weaver that looked into that shark skin surface, understanding that these skins are very special, have special features on them, and these features allow shark to glide in the sea, and so we learn from these skins how to design ships that will consume less energy and transport everything we want to transfer from one part of the world to the other. But now I take this image from Christian's talk. Now there are these amazing walls in every museum, and here in Museo Egizio is just fascinating how beautiful these walls are and how much of these objects are there, ready perhaps to look into from a different perspective. And this different perspective is what would like in this conference to discuss with you. And the perspective is very simple. Instead of just answering questions from archaeologists or curators, conservators, can we think about these objects as a source of inspiration for design of modern world, of something that will have a direct impact tomorrow in terms of perhaps creating something better than what we are used to make in the current, in the present. And this, we are referring to industrial revolution as a crucial moment of us moving into new world, new space. And now we are questioning if this is really the moment that we should take as a reference in terms of guaranteeing the prosperity of our children and the future of this planet itself. So I think it's a right moment to rethink some of the technologies that are stored in these museums as a potential way to create a more sustainable future. So the concept is paleo or antiquity-inspired design, and I didn't write this Wikipedia, I disclosed it immediately. Someone wrote it, okay? And this is what is written is, paleo inspiration or antiquity-inspired design is a paradigm shift that leads scientists and designers to draw inspiration from ancient materials, from art, archaeology, natural history, or paleo environments to develop new systems or processes, particularly with a view to sustainability. So they call it paradigm shift. It might be, it's a new space that we could start populating and exploring in order to really create a sustainable future. Okay. So this is the paper we published in 2017 that outlines a little bit this concept. So it's quite simple, very similar to bio-inspired design. That's why I introduced you that concept. You have a transformation of raw materials, like nature manages its own materials. Here, human experience, processed materials arrive to a solution that then had enough time to somehow resist to challenges of a modern world and eventually ended up in our hands ready to be used as a source of inspiration for different designs that can be, time resilience, durable material, some remarkable properties as a low environmental impact, integrative chemistry, and so on. So we are exploring the past for a sustainable future. What we do need are ancient materials and the technologies to understand well, use correct characterization tools, and eventually ended up extracting the essence. So this is a very important point I want to stress here. We are not translating entirely the technology into the modern world. We don't want to, I will give you a next example here. We don't want to build using ancient Roman concrete exactly as it is. We just want our modern material to reflect some of the features that are characteristic for this specific material. In this case, of course, is the longevity, and I will. You see, you now we do need to deep dive into nano, micro, molecular. So we need to really have put significant effort to actually understand these materials, because they are complex by definition. They are not just made today, they are made 2,000 years ago and lived. So complexity is way bigger compared to what we are used in the standard material science laboratory. Nevertheless, we think we are getting there in our techniques to be able to dissect materials and understand how some of these features can be translated into modern. So yeah, ancient Roman concrete, of course, is probably the best example for me to illustrate. Here, I mean, I remember this image here. A year ago, there was a big flooding in Italy, and there is everything was destroyed, but this bridges keep getting water, and nothing was kind of able to destroy. And indeed, ancient Roman concrete is an extraordinary material with low energy of production compared to modern one. Often Romans use recycled materials and to maintain the same chemistries, and it's known to be durable through an autogenous self-healing. And this is what we have studied in depth. And I'm not going to give you a secret today. Actually, tomorrow I'm giving a talk on this. So if you're interested in what happens there, please come tomorrow. Nevertheless, there is a startup that invested in this, translating now some of the features of ancient Roman concrete into modern, and they developed a material that when is fractured and water comes in, indeed heals in 2-3 weeks. Compared to no healing if we use standard material, extending the lifespan at least for 50%, which is huge will be huge in the industry, considering that then for decades you will not need to perhaps maintain those bridges or dams or everything you build using this material. Good. So, by the way, they also found out that just because they use Roman-inspired technology, they can even cut on CO2, and 75 kilograms of CO2 can be saved for every ton produced. So, you see, Roman concrete is a good example of what I wanted to tell you, but there are many others, and Christian mentioned our work on Egyptian blue, material that is able to absorb visible light and emit in infrared, and this characteristic property is very rare. Rarely found in nature, and can be very useful. I have a video that I will share with you. There is a Mayan blue, another pigment that Mayans in this case developed, and it's very durable because indigo that we use to color our jeans is interacting with this clay polygorsite, and by these interactions allows the pigment to survive in very harsh conditions. There are no pigments that can survive hot acids or bases, and the Mayan blue is very is there and doesn't care much, and of course Dead Sea Scrolls. I always go back to Dead Sea Scrolls somehow because I studied them for many years, and they are vulnerable, and technology of production, in this case of temple scroll, we studied very much. But in general, what I want to tell you, there is a world, I believe, to be discovered in this space, and how all that knowledge that sometimes got lost or sometimes got ignored might serve as a starting point for a more sustainable future. And this is the video of Egyptian blue that was made within Archaeologia Invisibile, and I think it tells a beautiful story of a beautiful pigment, but also how this material might be a key player in energy transformation, for example. So it was rediscovered. I don't know if you can read at all, probably not. But yeah, it was studied and rediscovered, and it's I can comment on this video. And the recipe was even reported in Vitruvius De Architectura, and it's what you need is basically some source of copper, sand, natron, and a little bit of heat, and then you end up with this wonderful, wonderful blue pigment that we found everywhere. And this is the future. So once illuminated with a visible light, it emits in infrared, and that's the property that we are very much interested in, because there are not many materials are able to do this shift. Energy shift, and you see Marco did a wonderful work in his PhD on this material, and studied all the details of the structure of this cuprorivierite, and the applications. For example, it's very nice to use it as on the scenes, because once you put a filter, only the infrared can be isolated from any contamination of light, and therefore fingerprints has some antibacterial properties, but most importantly, looks like it's able to improve the efficiency of solar cells because of moving into infrared instead of staying in the visible. So yes, Archeologia Invisibile was and will be a great place to explore these new concepts that we are promoting around the world, and I think I'm very much looking forward to this conference to discuss more further potential candidates, but also concept of how invisible and how molecular might eventually feed us back and allow for designing materials that are better of what we are used to do. And I will finish with the old bridge of Mostar that fortunately had been restored and rebuilt, and with the hope that yes, we document and digitalize more and more of our objects and heritage. Thank you very much.